can see you. Cool. I'm liking it. I'm liking the hat.
I wasn't sure. I got this shirt. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of like a Christmassy shirt, and I bought it for a gig, and then the gig was cancelled, and I thought, I know what I can use this shirt for. I know what it'd be absolutely perfect for. Film Club.
I feel completely overdressed now.
Well, no, I think it looks brilliant. So I was going to say I would have worn my tux had I known, but yeah, you look great. You look properly hard. You look like a real action hero.
I'm supposed to be the baddie. I'm supposed to be Hans Gruber. I haven't got the right colour tie.
Yeah.
Haven't got the East German accent.
No.
And I'm probably filling up too much of the screen. I look more like a bouncer than I do than a bad guy. But well, cool. Very nice to see you.
Yeah, and you, mate. Yeah, how's it going?
Good. But just before we get into that, just for anyone who might be watching, I don't know if anyone is watching, but if they watch the rerun, yeah, this is a VHS Film Club where Guy and I go back in our DeLorean back to the 80s to hire a film out. We've got to decide. We've got a choice of 2 films tonight, which we'll go through in a minute. But that's the premise of Film Club. So yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Obviously, it's been crazy. I went to LA to train to be a cop. Sort of jittery, suicidal cop, obviously. To get into the role. So I've been doing that really, and catching bad guys and killing it out there. And it's been pretty crazy, jumping off buildings, buying lots of sort of illegal drugs and stuff, in a ruse to get criminals behind bars. It's been awesome.
Okay, so you've got, like me, I went completely method. I've just been taking down people in Tesco's, just random people. In the end, I was forcibly removed from the store, but it was good fun.
Yeah.
Well, I did it, but yeah, I'm not allowed in that. I don't think I'm allowed in any Tesco's.
No,
actually, I think my photo's known, so I'll have to get everything delivered to the house of it.
They'll probably be a bit cautious to do that, to be fair, but it's a small price to pay, really.
Well, you got to do it. I mean, I got to. Oh, Sam's watching. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
To do these things. We really kind of both of us would kind of adhere to the Daniel Day-Lewis kind of school of acting. Really, really live it. And I agree with you. And if you've got to shoot some perps, maybe some people who weren't perps, just to get into the role, then that's what has to happen.
Well, it's important to have a burden of guilt, isn't it? So you have to kill a few innocent people and be burdened by it.
You got to kill some innocent people, so we've got a good backstory, right? I think that's a legitimate reason.
They don't understand. Nobody understands.
Brilliant. By the way, Guy, I don't know if there's any comments, so I might have to leave you with the comments because I got a feeling my phone won't do it because my phone can only do one thing at once. So if you do see any comments, please chuck them in.
We've got a lot. Obviously, we've got a huge amount of people watching, so we may break the internet. Yeah. Sam says, "Hello, I think I might have Stockholm syndrome."
Well, Sam has lived with me for a long time, so some people call it marriage, some people call it Stockholm syndrome. So you take your pick.
It's quite nine, isn't it? Really.
The symptoms are the same. Easily misdiagnosed. So, did you bring any 80s snacks with you, Guy?
I did. I've gone fairly old school. So I've got a penguin.
Oh, nice. Oh, what's the joke? You got to tell us a joke. There's a joke on the back.
I can't see it because my eyes won't work. But why did the penguin make a fish pun?
A fish
just
pun?
For that. Yeah, why did the penguin make a fish pun? Just for the halibut.
Nice. That is Christmas cracker quality jokes.
Comedy gold. I've also got Whispers, which they recently brought back. They were out for many years.
Yeah.
And Munchies as well. Another fine.
Oh,
80s.
nice.
But it's sort of a chocolate night. That plus the actually I did this really well earlier, and now it doesn't look quite so good. It is sort of
Is that a White Russian?
Sorry?
Is that a White Russian?
Yeah, it's supposed to be, but the cream, I'm just going to stir it in. The cream didn't quite settle on the top. I did it the first time, brilliantly.
Did you do it over? You got to run it over you got to pour it over a spoon. Did you do that?
Yeah, but I think I poured it too quickly in my sort of eagerness. So it all just sort of went in. So it just looks a bit curdled and nasty, but it tastes all right.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, just for the viewers at home, that's what it should look like. It should look like a Guinness, but I'm not showing off. It's just showing what it should look like.
Yeah. Fair play, that is
so we go to a video shop. I think we're running out of video shops to go to, so we're just going to go to the standard one at the end of the road. I think.
Yeah.
It's Christmas, but we're in the mood for action. So we've got a choice between probably the two Christmas action films. Actually, I think there may be some others, but actually these are probably the big two.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did you want to kick off? I mean, you've got the first one, haven't you? I think, or you've got the Mel Gibson one. Do you want to kick off with that? Tell us the synopsis of your one. I'll hold up the film unless you got it.
Oh yeah. No, I haven't got it actually. It's in the other room.
Hang on, there we go. Right, there you go. So
fantastic. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Cool. Absolutely fantastic. And he seems to make that mullet look pretty good. They've come back into fashion recently, but nobody rocks it like Mel.
I was going to say he owns the mullet. Yeah, I agree with that. No one does a mullet as well as Mel.
No. That's so. By the by, so the film, one of my favourites as a kid. I mean, I don't know. I've sort of lived with it forever. You know, I guess we have with these films, haven't we? The basic synopsis is there's this sort of cop on the edge, Martin Riggs. His wife gets killed. We don't see this, but she's been killed, and it basically makes him suicidal. So he's right on the edge of, he's a really good cop, but he's also completely bonkers. Basically, at the start of the film, we get the feeling that he's not really long for the world as it stands, and he sort of lives in a caravan, and it's all a bit sort of dodgy. My wife was very pleased again that we do see a bottom shot quite early on, Mel's rump when he gets up.
Yeah. It's quite a lot of nakedness. I'd just like to point out that living in a caravan isn't a source of mental health issues, just in case people make that connection. But
yeah.
But no, you see, there's a lot of nakedness. I mean, in terms of, you see, I think there's boobs and drug use within the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there with nipples, because you see Danny Glover in the bath, so you see Danny Glover's nipples, and then Mel Gibson's nipples and his butt. I mean, I think that's all in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. It's a lot of flesh. The first 5 minutes, apart from that, we're getting off piste. But the first 5 minutes of the film was great, because it does this sort of thing of playing Jingle Bell Rock, which obviously you'll remember I did that version. The viewers sort of, were crying out for more. And then there's this sort of really unsettling scene where there's this girl sort of like sort of taking drugs, and she's sort of half naked, and she jumps out this window to Jingle Bell Rock. Like a super effective opening. It's like a bit similar to Clockwork Orange, isn't it? That thing of playing a really nice tune against sort of extreme like violence and death. So I kind of think that's kind of like, for an opening shot, I sort of love that. I think it's sort of really brilliant. Anyway, so I diverse. That's one of those anyway. So we've got. So we've got Mel, Martin Riggs sort of on the edge, and then we sort of see Roger Murtaugh, this cop who's actually my age, which is a bit scary. He's sort of turning 50 at the start of the film. Kind of sort of wanting to retire. Not really, he's kind of really good at his job, and they get sort of basically thrown together. And then what follows is a great sort of cop buddy movie. Loads of action, loads of sort of taking down drug kingpins. The sort of plot is basically a friend of Roger Murtaugh's contacts him after this girl who turns out to be his daughter sort of jumps from the window and says, you've got to help me find these bad guys. And it sort of turns out that he's part of this drug ring that started in Vietnam.
Oh, spoiler!
Yeah, sorry, spoiler alert. Sorry about that. I won't give the whole thing away, obviously, just like most of it. And, you know, they go and sort of ransack Los Angeles, taking them down. Plenty of wisecracking, plenty of one-liners. Is really awesome. I really like their relationship in it, and it's sort of something that I think makes it stand apart from a lot of other action films. There's still quite a lot of heart to it. There's Mel Gibson, again, without giving too much of a spoiler, is kind of saved from being, you know, completely psychotic, sort of on the edge, to you know, kind of bringing it sort of back round again, which I think is fairly unusual in action movies. I mean, it's sort of more normally the case that the action hero wins the day. He's kind of pretty much the same character as when he started, but as we know, both being writers, sort of hint, the sort of journey, you know, the kind of journey of the character is a really cool thing to get in, and sometimes it doesn't really happen in movies. And I think Mel Gibson's, watching it again, like recently, having not seen it for a while, it's, oh my God, it's really good. His sort of portrayal of being right on the edge in the various things that he does is absolutely brilliant. You know, it's like a really great piece of great piece of work, I think. You know, so that really kind of, you know, I really love that about the film. That's sort of my big sort of things about it. I've got quite a lot of interesting trivia. I'll tell you the stuff that I kind of.
Before we get into that,
yeah,
before we get into that, let's just go through some of these other bits, and then we can definitely get into that. So released in '87.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 89 if we're getting it. Definitely an 18. Made 15 million.
Yeah.
So it cost 50 million. Made 120. So really successful.
Yeah, yeah.
And like loads and loads of sequels. Absolutely loads. I think got to 4 before it got rebooted. But yeah, absolutely loads. Yeah, actually, before we get into the things, who's in it? I mean, give me the lowdown on who's in the film. We mentioned Mel Gibson.
So there's Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, who's done sort of loads of films, loads of TV stuff. The Colour Purple, I think, was his big film that he was in before this, although he'd done lots of stuff before that, but he sort of became like sort of really known for that. He's also Witness, and of course he's in the second Predator, Silverado, which is a great, I don't know if you've seen that, as a Western, absolutely brilliant Western. It's really long. It's one of the longest, probably one of the longest before Lord of the Rings. It's like a thinking man's sort of Western. But it's absolutely brilliant. But Danny Glover's in that. Gary Busey's in it. Again, another sort of stalwart sort of Hollywood legend. He's been in absolutely sort of ton of films. I mean, he actually started life as a drummer. He was in a rock band, so that was his sort of early career. Comedian and a drummer. And then he somehow sort of got into acting, and so his breakout was he played Buddy Holly, Buddy Holly Story, 1978, got an Academy Award for that. Star is Born. Then he was in Silver Bullet, which I don't know if you probably have seen that. I would imagine you have, being a Stephen King.
Long time ago, the Stephen King Cycle of the Werewolf. Do you know, it's been a while. I mean, because the main character is Corey Haim, isn't it? And he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
But I can't remember it. I must have seen it though. I can't imagine being a Stephen King fan I was when I was younger, and I wouldn't have watched it. But I can't remember it, which makes me think maybe it's not that good. I don't know.
There's one scene that we're kind of diversity. I can't say diversity. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Getting away from.
Digress.
But Digress. That's the one. Digress. Thank you. He's in a wheelchair. Not divulge. He's being chased by a werewolf, and he's in this wheelchair called the Silver Bullet, and that's a really, really good scene. You never see the werewolf; you just know he's being chased, and he's getting past in this sort of electric wheelchair. That's pretty awesome. Anyway, yeah. So he's in it, but I can't remember Gary Busey in that film. I don't think he might be the dad or something. I don't know.
I remember him in Point Break.
Yeah.
I remember him in Under Siege. Those are probably the two main films I remember him being in. But that really stick out in my mind. Films that I would have watched and I remember.
The Firm. He was in Drop Zone, Lost Highway, yeah, Under Siege, yeah. He tends to play wise, like wise know-it-all bad guys, and he's kind of become known for that. But he's kind of really great actor, I think. The wife of I can't think of her name now, Danny Love, who plays Danny Glover's wife in the film. It's a really well-known soul R&B singer, which I had no idea of. No, I had absolutely no idea. And that's the moments. There's a few other ones. I think there's a few other sort of well-known faces that have been around in the same movies. Because it was directed by Richard Donner, and I think he sort of used, a sort of pool of people. I was going to say, well, do you want? Is there anyone you picked up on? They're the kind of main ones, but you probably.
I think there's a few. I mean, I love some of the goons. You got Edo Ross, who was the Victor in Red Heat.
Yeah,
loved him. He was great. He was in it for a very short time. Sven Ola Thornson, who was pretty much Arnold Schwarzenegger in every Arnold Schwarzenegger film in the 80s. Really big guy. Really, he was in it as a goon as well. Al Leong as well, also a goon in so many films. But I think the film and he's actually in Lethal Weapon as well. Oh, sorry, in Die Hard. Sorry, this is Lethal Weapon. He's in Die Hard as well.
Yeah.
Which kind of shows he's in everything. But he was also, I guess, a film where he actually had almost like a proper name role. He was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He was Genghis Khan. So when they went collecting people from all the different ages, he was Genghis Khan, which is cool. And the other person, and it's great to see her not playing a mum, was Mary Ellen Trainor. She was a psychologist, and Goonies, Monster Squad. Always seemed to play the mom of the kind of main kid characters, but she was in it as well. So those are the people that jumped out at me as well.
Sam says nothing says Christmas like a drugged up woman jumping out the window. I was just thinking about that actually. It's like that used to happen when my nan came round. It's like, oh no, boobs are out, snorting coke, straight into the garden.
This is why old people break, at holiday time. It's because they're constantly jumping out of second floor windows, absolutely off their tits.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of trivia on that scene. She really did not all of the jump, because obviously it was a really long way down, and it's clearly a dummy at sort of some points. But she did the actual jump to a lower level, like complete herself. When you see her plunging towards the cars, that was like a painted, like mat for her to sort of fall on. Because you don't see her fall on it; you sort of see it kind of cuts away. So she actually did that herself, which is like really kind of like pretty impressive. There's another on that subject. The guy that did the stunts, Dar Robinson. I don't know how much, if you were like a stunt fan when you were a kid. I was like a massive fan of those Saturday morning stunt shows. And Dar Robinson was sort of a legend. He did all these sort of amazing stunts, and he got killed after this film in a really stupid motorbike accident. Right? All the things he did, all the like super dangerous stunts. He jumped off the world's tall. He jumped off the CN Tower in Toronto. Did the world's highest jump on a line. All of that perfectly fine, and then he drives down the road and has a motorbike accident and like killed instantly. But he kind of coached the actors that wanted to do, because Mel wanted to do the jump as well off the roof. So he coached them to sort of do that, and so they could actually they did the jump like themselves. And so it's really cool. So he should definitely get a mention. He had one, he's also in the film. One guy gets shot in the back of the nightclub, and he falls down in all those chains. The sort of hit there's like one of the heavies. That's Dar Robinson, he sort of did that one. But it's pretty cool, The music, I should mention music as well, because I love the music to it. And it's kind of one of those, there's like a small group of films where the music, I don't know if you've ever seen that film Paris, Texas, but there's a blues guitarist called Ry Cooder, and it's all slide guitars. So the film, it's a great movie, and all of the background music is all just sort of blues slide guitar. And this was done a bit like that. So it had David Sanborn, who's a kind of like a sort of a funk sort of sax player, Eric Clapton, and Michael Kamen, who was the composer, doing the keyboards. So a lot of it was, sort of more or less just sort of improvised, just sort of, as it kind of gives it a really like nice feel. It's like quite a unique, just like a sax line and nothing else. And it's like quite, I really dig it. I think it's a good way to do film music.
I know Eric Clapton did Lethal Weapon 2 and 3 as well. And the other thing I feel quite sad about, I think if I'd grown up I grew up in the 80s, but I didn't dream of being a saxophonist.
Yeah.
But if I had I'd be really disappointed, because as soon as the 80s finished, sax just seemed to stop in films. So if I had dreams to do it in films, I never would have been allowed to unless I'd have been born in the 70s or, and been working in the 80s. So sax just seemed to just stop as soon as the 80s finished.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It did, and it's a real shame. And it's like you could have had the proper mullet, played away. It would have been brilliant. But it's complete end of it. Like that, like Poirot. That the David Suchet Poirot was all solo sax, like nothing else. And it was great. It's so like unique. But alas, we're not. Well, we can be in the 80s because of our time machine, but.
Oh, we can do. We've got a VW Polo with a flux capacitor. I mentioned a DeLorean because actually it's my 80s Polo, which can go 88 miles an hour down a hill. So you have to find a hill first. But we've got a flux capacitor in that. So that's how we really get back. But just for the rock and roll image, we say it's a DeLorean.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and I have been in that car. I can vouch for that.
Okay. I think you mentioned Richard Donner, really amazing director. Did The Goonies and Scrooge. One of your favorite. I think is your favorite Christmas film?
Yeah, I love
Scrooge.
Yeah.
So that's really good pedigree here. And then written, I thought it was interesting. Shane Black, who everyone will remember as might not remember, but he was a character called Hawkins. He was probably in Predator. So he's one of the people who wasn't completely juiced up.
Yeah,
on steroids. I think everyone was, but he wasn't like muscle bound. But he was one of the smaller. But he was in that. But he wrote Monster Squad as well, which I love. Which is like Goonies with monsters and Iron Man 3. But I think from what I read, he wrote a very dark story based on two Vietnam vets, and he does mention that. But there's a guy who came in called Jeffrey. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Boehm. Who did Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and he brought some humour into it. There was definitely some humour in the film.
Yeah. It was, that was quite a bold, because apparently Shane Black said, because he was a struggling actor when he wrote the script. He wrote the script to like 85, and he read it and he thought, this is really dark, and he sort of binned it, and then he rewrote it, and it got kind of. But he said originally that he wanted it to be like a zombie. Like a cowboy sort of zombie film. I don't know how that translates, but and then he and Richard Donner said this is just way too dark, and some of the things I read from it, like at one point in the original script, Mel Gibson gouges someone's eye out and sort of kills them by like poking his fingers into their brain, and it's like that's probably it's hard to get like the humour, it's hard to make a quip after that, isn't it? It's it's a tough call. I don't know. What would you?
You definitely need the lights after that.
If you did that, what would be your quip? If you kill them with the two fingers.
I don't know if I do one line after that. I think you need to have a lot. I think my rule. Sometimes I write things which are quite dark, but I actually feel like in those dark books and stuff, you need to have something light afterwards. So maybe not directly afterwards. Maybe not like the action movie kind of quip or James Bond quip, but I think you definitely need something light afterwards. I think I sometimes struggle with films that are dark all the way through because it feels like it's a real slog. I'm trying to think of a film that's like that. What's that one with Tom Cruise, the remake? It was the one with the aliens come and land. What's it called? Is it The Day You Stood Still, or is that the wrong one?
No, that's the wrong one. I do know the one you mean. The Orson Welles play based on the radio play.
Yeah. War of the Worlds. Yeah, that's it. That was hard. I watched that and I felt like I'd survived that film with Tom Cruise, and I was going, do I really want to watch that again? Because it was just nothing. There was no light in it at all. There was no light bits. It was all just really heavy. So I think you do need it, but I don't know what you could say after popping someone's eye out. In fact, that's twice in a week. Because I read it. I'm reading Ash by James Herbert. And the
Yeah,
main character in that has to do that when he's attacked by
yeah,
someone. The only way he can defend himself because the person's a lot physically bigger than he is.
yeah,
So that's twice I've had that image in my head
yeah.
this week.
Sorry about that.
Yes, that's cool. It's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, funny bits. Did you have any funny bits from this film before we get into the kind of trivia bit?
The bit that always cracks me up every single time is when he goes to buy the drugs, and he's buying Christmas trees. This is another reason I think it's a Christmassy film. We've got coked up prostitutes jumping out the windows. We've all been there. And he's buying all this coke, and they say it's going to be 90, and he goes, "Oh, gee, well, I guess you only live once." And he counts out $90, and they're like, "No, 90,000, man!" And they get really angry, and he obviously sort of obviously duffs them all in. But it just cracks me up every time. That's kind of my favourite scene in the whole film, actually. Apart from the prostitute jumping out the window, but I do like that. It just makes me laugh every time. It's sort of Goonies like reference. He does Goonies stuff, pulls out a gun.
The bit I like, the bit that makes me laugh, is when he handcuffs himself to the jumper.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he offers him a cigarette, and I think he says, "Let's take our time. Let's die of cancer." That one really makes me laugh as well. That was the one that got me.
Yeah.
We'll just sit up here and smoke cigarettes till we the carcinogens. And something else gets.
It's great. Yeah. But they did that jump. So when he comes out, when they jump off, and he comes out, and he's going, yeah. Apparently that was all really genuine, because he and the actor were absolutely bricking it. And he said like Dole Robinson was talking to them as they were going up in the lift and getting higher and higher and higher, and he was like sort of keeping them calm by telling them all these sort of stories. And then they got to the top, because it's a long way to jump, isn't it? It's like, but yeah. So, but yeah, that's a great scene. I really love that. Yeah, very funny. I'm sure that's a Danny Glover one. I can't quite think of it. It'll maybe come back to me in a minute.
He'll come back. I think he'll come back.
Poor Danny Glover. He suffers, and he gets thrown quite early on, doesn't he? When he thinks that Riggs is like some sort of ne'er-do-well, ruffian, and it sort of hurls into his back and stands on his chest and says, "Meet your new partner." That's quite good. I like that.
Yeah, that's cool. So you were going to go into trivia, so until I rudely cut you off. But, do you want to get into some of the fun facts about this film that people may not know?
Some of the fun facts. So there's some fun facts, and yeah, there was an alternate scene which goes back to the slightly darker version. I don't know if you've seen it. It is on the DVD, where he's drinking in a bar.
What's a DVD?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, we don't know about DVDs yet. See, if we were in the 80s now, I would have probably kind of really broken time, wouldn't I? Like bringing a DVD into it. It'd be like, what's he talking about? Completely fractured the time-space continuum. So just pretend I didn't say that. On the video, he's drinking in a bar, and he's sort of, these guys kind of like try to mug him, and he sort of basically kills sort of both of them. And it was taken out and replaced with the first time you see him, he's kind of like lying in bed, and to make it not as dark.
It's proper 80s cop film, isn't it? Pretty much every bad guy dies. I don't think any bad guy survives this film, from my memory. I think every single bad guy gets it.
Yeah, every single one gets it. Gary Busey, I should mention, actually, we talked about him, but his role as Mr. Joshua in the film is brilliant. Yeah. He watched Sharks, apparently, to get into character for it. And he said what he tried to do is have that completely... Sharks have very sort of dead eyes, don't they? Like they're just jet black. So he watched a lot of Sharks and Sharks, and he tried to sort of make himself look like that the whole time. And he really pulls it off. He's properly creepy in it, and he runs the lighter along his arm and all that, But to keep them like loggerheads, they kept telling them. They told Mel that Gary had eaten the last waffle, and then they told Gary the same thing. But it's completely true, apparently, just to kind of keep them slightly annoyed at each other the whole time, so that the sort of fight scene at the end would kind of, be more genuine. Let's have a look. So, oh yeah, so the final fight scene as well. They learned a few different martial arts for this. Sort of interests me being into martial arts, but they learned jiu-jitsu and some other sort of like stick fighting and stuff. The fight scene at the end, not to give any spoilers, I won't tell you who wins, is great. I think it's one of the best fight scenes because it's really realistic. There's no super high kicking and kind of crazy stuff. It's all
No
sort of
crane
quite
technique.
hands-on. Sorry?
No crane technique.
No crane technique. No, exactly. It's just sort of full on and muddy and painful, and they're getting each other in locks and trying to mash each other into the ground, and it is it's sort of really good, you know. So I think that the fight scene wise, I think it's an absolutely great fight scene. The scene where Riggs is contemplating suicide, which again I think he does brilliantly. So it's a completely serious point. I think he does it great with the gun. You know, it's like really, really convincing. Part of that, the gun was loaded with a blank, which wouldn't be fatal. But in fact, if you shot yourself at close range with a blank, you'd get quite badly hurt. So to sort of add that authenticity, sort of actually sort of load it with a blank, sort of pretty crazy. There was an actual gun used in it. The rifle Riggs uses a $10,000 Heckler and Koch marksman's rifle, and they had to pay for it out front, you know, to use it for the movie, you know, because it's sort of such an expensive thing. Yeah, I'll just do a couple. Oh, yes. Yeah, so originally they wanted William Hurt. I can't see that for the role of Martin Riggs.
No, I think we see it in a lot of films, though, where you hear about, well, this was the original person intended, and you just couldn't imagine it.
I can't see that.
So I agree, I can't see it.
Can't see that one at all. Yeah, but that's who wanted it at first, you know, and I think a few other people turned down the role. Robert De Niro turned it down. You know, the usual sort of people they seem to ask all turned it down. Great, you know, because Mel Gibson was sort of great. They were both really well paired, and they became friends in real life as well. And the final one, if you would, they wanted Leonard Nimoy was one of the who obviously the fans will know as Mr. Spock. Was originally considered to direct it, and he at the time he was doing Three Men and a Baby, and he's like, I don't think this is really bad, you know. Quite rightly, really. I mean, I just can't see it, you know. It's like, and he just said, no, I'm not, you know, I'm not doing that, you know. So it's Richard Donner, who was great. He did all those great action movies, and you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any more? I think you covered a lot of mine, but do you have any more fun facts before I go on to my list?
I think we should go on to yours.
Okay. I just had a comment that if you know, Mel Gibson is basically having beer for breakfast, I don't think I'd look like Mel. You know, you have a full kind of naked shot of Mel. If I was having beer every day for breakfast, I think that shot would be very different. Than what you actually see on camera. I was right. What else was there? It was interesting. I don't know if it was intended or not, whether it was just common, really. But it felt the bit where the three kids on bikes ride past Riggs's trailer. Yeah. It felt very Stranger Things. I was watching that, thinking I was instantly like, that feels like Stranger Things. So I don't know if they kind of copied that scene. And I think there's probably loads of references in Stranger Things that I've missed. Right. Because there's so many packed full. But I'm wondering if there is, because there are lots of bits with kids on bikes. And I know it's a common theme in E.T. and Goonies and everything. But yeah, it really made me think of Stranger Things when they did that. Interesting, yeah, all these things being intertwined, obviously being around at the same time. Both Mel Gibson and Bruce Willis, who's the lead in Die Hard, were considered for both roles in both Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, which was kind of interesting. Willis reportedly turned down the role of Martin Riggs, but regretted it, and then that pushed him towards taking on Die Hard. So actually, there's a lot of interconnection between the two films. Another interconnection, which I thought was really interesting, the gun Mel Gibson uses, the prop, is a Beretta 92F. Obviously, I know loads about guns, but it's actually the same prop gun that Bruce Willis uses in Die Hard. It's the same gun. So I thought that was really interesting as well. What else was there? Yeah, you mentioned that scene with the drug dealers. Interestingly, yeah, right at the beginning where you get introduced to Martin Riggs. Interestingly, a guy called Blackie Dammit, real name John Kiedis, plays one of the drug dealers at the Christmas tree stand. So, with you and your encyclopedic music knowledge, Kiedis, what does that second name? Who do you think of when you think of Kiedis? If I pronounced it right.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, is it?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, it's Anthony Kiedis' dad. Look at that. Oh God, we got to do a pub quiz.
Yeah. You with your encyclopedic knowledge of weapons and any
the weapons sound, yeah. The other one I liked is interesting. John Saxon, who most people probably remember from Enter the Dragon, or maybe as the dad in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
He was considered for the role of Mr. Joshua, which I could see. I could see that one actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he could do that real deadpan. He had that kind of real kind of, I don't know, dangerous look about him. I think is probably the best way of putting it. So yeah, I could see that one.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing, and I don't think I did it for the other film, which is annoying. Oh, actually, no, I know it's less because there's only so many. Terrorists, or not terrorists, thieves in Die Hard. But the body count was 26 in the director's cut of this film. I don't know what it was for the regular cut, but definitely more people buy it in Lethal Weapon than in Die Hard.
Yeah. Probably quite a lot of civilians, maybe.
Yeah.
But
So you might want to keep that in your back pocket when we debate at the end.
Yeah. There's another one, but maybe I'll leave that because you might have that as you might have a trivia one for Die Hard. So I'll keep my trivia one quiet.
Okay, well let's get into Die Hard then. I'm gonna put this. So this is the one. This looks like the bookie's favourite based on the feedback we've got.
Yeah.
I think they're quite very even, but I think Die Hard seems to have stood the test of time more. I don't know if it's because there's so much nakedness and drug use in the initial scene of Lethal Weapon, but Die Hard seems to be a bit more popular than Lethal Weapon, even though I think, to be honest, I think they're cut from a very similar cloth, to be honest. So Die Hard, if people have not watched Die Hard, where have you been? Welcome back to planet Earth. So John McClane, who's Bruce Willis, is a New York cop, and he goes to his wife's Christmas party. Party ends up being hijacked, and then basically John has to go back to his day job and take down the bad guys. So that's probably the very, very short terms what happens in this movie. Loads of sequels. I think similar. Actually, this is why I think they're on a par. Because I think that Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Well, actually, there were 4 actually. So 4 Lethal Weapons, 5 Die Hard films. So there was an extra Die Hard film. So there's actually more of those. Like I said before, this came out a year later. We mentioned the link. Bruce Willis was very keen to take this role after seeing how well Lethal Weapon did.
Yeah.
Very similar numbers in money wise. It cost 28 million and made 143 million. So this was right in the sweet spot when kind of cop films were really big. Action films, cop films were huge. So it was absolutely made for the market at the time. Oh, by the way, is anyone saying anything online? Because I still can't see anything. Anything to?
No, it's. I think it's just Sam. She has said to the sax one. She just have to make do with the recorder. The recorder's a beautiful instrument, and War of the Worlds. Yeah, and she's gone quiet.
Yeah.
She might have, decided that we're beyond saving. I don't know.
Or maybe gone to sleep. I've mimed to the recorder. But maybe that's for another time. I've done a Christmas song where I mimed the recorder. I watched that the other day. So people who were in it, I've also got Bruce Willis. He was really famous at the time, and actually it kind of blended with this film when he was doing for Moonlight. It's a really big TV show with Sybil Shepherd, which I remember really enjoying. Actually, he was more. I think he was more wise, more humour in that, I guess, than action. Blind Date. Blind Date's an awesome film. Do you remember Blind Date with Kim Basinger?
No.
Where Bruce Willis goes on a blind date with Kim Basinger, and his best friend, I think she's like a friend of his friend's wife,
Right.
if that makes sense. But like his friend's wife said, "Don't get her drunk. She's really not a good drinker." And
Right.
and then his best mate kind of takes that as, yeah, well, you better give her a drink. She goes wild when she has a drink, and she basically gives him the worst night of his life, because when she has a drink, she's like completely ruins his life. But anyway, it's really good. Blind Date. I love that film. He's in that. I think that's the first time first film I really watched him in, actually. Pulp Fiction, where he had a kind of resurgence after kind of sort of going kind of quiet, I guess, or Hollywood kind of turning his back on him. Same as John Travolta, though, as well, came back in that film as well. 12 Monkeys, which is an awesome film. And The Sixth Sense as well, and all the M. Night Shyamalan films that happened after that. So really, Bruce Willis is ace. Absolute star, as you can see. Almost like a photocopy of the man, but Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber. And he made a real, he was a fantastic actor, and probably because this was his first film. He started as a baddie, and he did such a good job of it. I think he kept getting cast as baddies, because he was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and honest to God, I think if he wasn't in that film would have been complete tosh.
Yeah.
And obviously Snape in the Harry Potter series as well, which I really like. I remember reading the books with Emily. We read every single book, at bedtime. We went through the whole thing, read it out loud, all through the series, and all the way through I had in my mind, I bet Snape comes good at the end. I was like, Snape's going to come good.
Yeah.
And he did. But I read all the way through all the books. I was thinking Snape's going to come good, but he was great in that and Harry Potter series. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right. Reginald Vell Johnson, who's the cop who's kind of sort of down there giving mainly interesting in terms of a buddy cop film, because actually the buddy cop in this his main role is just emotional support, which is an interesting take on it, because he's not. I'm not doing any spoilers, but for the majority of the film, they don't physically see each other, so he's just giving emotional support on the radio, but he's in a load of things. He's the jail guard in Ghostbusters, really bit part. He's also Gus in Crocodile Dundee, which I think we did in a previous film club. The limo driver. So he's in a few 80s films. There's actually quite a lot of people in this. Paul Gleason is the real I can't put it anywhere, the tosser policeman who takes charge of the situation before the FBI turn up. He's in Arthur, which I love that film, Arthur. I forgot about that film with Dudley Moore. He's also in Trading Places. I think he's the Clarence Beeks in Trading Places. A Christmas film next year, Trading Places. Awesome film. Who else? William Atherton, who must have been really annoyed about always being cast as a tosser, because he is the EPA guy in Ghostbusters. So he's also in this film, the TV reporter. He is like at the same kind of level of being like hated. So he must have, I don't know, he's earning money as a actor, I guess, but he must have got a lot of abuse from people, because he was always he played these really horrible characters. Hart Bochner as Ellis, I recognised him, but I couldn't remember where he was. I'm assuming he was a love interest in Supergirl, because when I looked into it, he was in Supergirl with Helen Slater, but I can't remember him. I'm guessing he was the love interest. He kind of had that look. He's a good-looking guy. I imagine he was a love interest in that. It's Carl. That's the guy who, not giving too much away, John McClane accidentally kills his brother right at the beginning. It is almost an accidental killing. It's like death by misadventure rather than a proper takedown. But he's in Witness. That's the Amish film with what's her face from Top Gun? I can't remember her name now. Kelly McGillis. I think she's in that, and Harrison Ford. I think. Great movie. And he's also in The Money Pit with Tom Hanks and Shelley Long from Cheers. I can't remember him in The Money Pit though. Now this guy.
There's another one. One of the bad guys. You might have been getting to that. I don't know. Sorry if you were. But one of the other bad guys is in The Money Pit as well. The guy with the really long blonde feathery hair. He's the conductor. That's the love interest.
Okay.
I just suddenly, sorry. It just suddenly sort of sort of occurred to me that he's in it. I don't know if there's any connection there, but but he sort of plays. I think he's the only one of all I think he's the only one of the guys that is actually German. I don't think any of the other ones were like in any way German. He's the only one that is.
This other guy, I was racking my brain because I was going, I know this guy, and he's only when I looked it up did I work out. So there's a guy called Theo, played by Clarence Gilliard, and he's like the computer expert. He's the guy who's going to break in, get past all the computer systems to get into the vault. He is actually a character called Sundown in Top Gun. So after Goose buys the big one, sorry, another spoiler in Top Gun, and Maverick is trying to get back on the horse, in his first flight, he is co-pilot, or not co-pilot, I forgot what they call it, not co-pilot. Is he co-pilot? I can't remember. The person in the back, anyway. Yeah. Person who sits in the back.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the navigator, I don't know. He's a character called Sundown. That's where I remember him from. Because I knew his face.
Yeah,
he's Sundown in that one. So he's a guy. Mentioned Al Leong as a goon again. He's in both films.
Yeah.
So he's in virtually everything. And I recognise this guy as well. And I had to look it up as well. As soon as I saw this guy who plays a goon, he's called Wilhelm van Homburg. Sounds a very German name. Maybe he's another German guy. But I looked at him and went, that's Vigo from Ghostbusters 2. And he is. There's one of the goons. So he's Vigo, the big bad guy in Ghostbusters 2. And then the other one I really like, Robert Davi as one of the Johnsons, FBI agent. Obviously, he's one of the baddies in the Goonies. He's in License to Kill. Everyone remembers him. Very distinctive, tall guy. His face is a little bit pockmarked, but really good actor. Yeah. One of Vitelli's, that's it. One of Vitelli's in. But that's it. Was there anyone else in it that I've missed that you?
No, I don't think there was. I think you absolutely nailed them. Yeah, Robert Darby, great. Alexander Godunov, that's his name, the guy with the long wavy hair. I think whether he is German, I think he's got wavy hair, he's got that accent, right? You're German, pal, And I suppose you'd be a bit annoyed. Oh, I don't want to be typecast, and then someone fans out like $50 million, and you're like, it's fine, We get that, don't we? We suffer a bit for our art, but at the end of the day, you just have to.
I agree. Yeah, the tough part of being an international star, isn't it? I think we both bear those scars. Written by Steve E. D'Souza. I know a Steve D'Souza, actually, a different Steve D'Souza. Steve's watching. Hi, Steve. He wrote 48 Hours, which is another fantastic kind of buddy cop film with Nick Nolte and oh god, my brain's not working now. Eddie Murphy. Well, Eddie Murphy's not really a cop, but it's kind of one of those cop films. And Commando as well. I'm not the biggest fan of Commando, actually. I liked it at the time, but going back and watching it, I find it's too far on the spectrum, I guess. We got two films which are very relatable here. We've got like Mel Gibson, who's got suicidal thoughts and very emotional character. And then you got in this and in Die Hard, you've got kind of Bruce Willis, who plays kind of just in some respects an ordinary cop.
Yeah,
he's not like a super cop.
No.
But he manages to find a way through. His superpower is the fact he doesn't give up. And he's clever enough to kind of get through. But actually, his biggest he relies on a bit of luck, and he kills, Carl's brother pretty much by falling down the stairs with him, and that easily could have been him dead. So he rides his luck as well. But yeah, Commando's too far. I think too far on the spectrum to really enjoy. Now I think people will probably disagree with me, but there's better Arnie films out there, I think. Directed by John McTiernan, who directed Predator, and I love Predator. Absolutely love that film. So really good director. And then the composer, interesting, Michael Kamen, who is also involved in Lethal Weapon as well, interestingly. Yeah. So he's also involved in that film. What do you think about the special effects for this one?
I thought it was great. I mean, it's all of the explosions. Oh, there's another factoid actually. I think the building they used was actually I can't remember what it was. It was one of the main buildings, wasn't it? Is it Warner Brothers? It was on the. Anyway, it was one of the main offices.
Production company. Yeah. They said you can use our building, which meant they could pretty much do anything. They didn't do it, which they pretty much did, as far as I could see.
Yeah. Special effects stood the test of time. Really cool explosions. I think it was sort of everything you want, really, wasn't it? There's no sort of. There's nothing. Some films, Commando would probably be a good example that you think, oh, that's not. I'm not buying that. But I think everything in it was great, really, considering it's '88.
Yeah. I think both films, the special effects are ace.
Yeah.
I think also similarly with the falling shot. So there's a famous falling shot. I'm not going to go into who falls, but again, similarly with Lethal Weapon, that was the actor who fell as well with that, which obviously adds to that, which was really, really good. And then I think with the surprise on the actor's face, mainly came from the fact where the stunt coordinator said, right, you're going to fall on 3, and he dropped him on 2. So that was really cool.
Yeah, just to get that extra bit of fear.
the fear was real. And the other thing, there's quite a lot of, it's not giving too much away, but John McClane loses his shoes. I think he basically all kicks off when he's having a wash, basically, and he hasn't got any shoes. And he spends the whole film in just your bare feet. And the bad guys realise that, so they start shooting out glass. So he has to run on glass. Yeah. Apparently, there's a bit, and I didn't see it. And I don't really want to look for it because I don't like looking. You want to go with the illusion, don't you? And I think that's the important thing with films and plays, whatever. But apparently, there's a bit where he's running over the way he could run over the shards of glass. Yeah. Was actually he did have some rubber soles, like see-through rubber soles on his feet. Right. So it looked like he was barefoot, but he actually had he had something under his feet. I'm not going to look too close. I don't want to see. I don't want to peek behind the curtain type thing. But apparently, so special effects. I think both film special effects are really good. Yeah. All the big action special effects were there, and I think they all worked. What about funny bits? Any funny bits from this film? I think there's a few wisecracks in it.
There's a few wisecracks. I think it's darkly funny when the lift opens. I like it because it's the first time that Hans Gruber is a little bit derailed. The lift sort of opens up and there's like a sort of body in it with like ho ho ho, I've got a machine gun now. I kind of like that, and it is kind of cool because it's the first time Gruber loses his cool a bit. It's like, what's going on, that stands out. Obviously, there's I think I should let you say the main one-liner as it's your film. I think you need.
Oh no, you can go for it. You can go for it. I think because my funny bit is not that bit. There's another bit I really like, so you can go with that bit if you want.
Welcome to the party, pal. That was probably that's probably scary because it probably was like Bruce Willis was here just now. I should maybe apologise for that. A bit too real.
You probably made a lot of ladies swoon, especially people who from the 80s who so you probably made a lot of people swoon. So we should have given a warning there.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. That's as out of order of me. I apologise.
My funniest bit, I like the bit where John's obviously got hold of a radio from one of the bad guys, and he's kind of trying to get hold of the police because there's no phone. They've cut all the phones, so he's no way of getting up. He's got this radio now, so he gets on the police channel. He's trying to call it in, saying what's happening, and he gets a really officious person at the other end saying this is a police channel, and he's going to be charged if he doesn't get off the line.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, this is for emergencies only," in a really patronising way, and I think he says, I'm going to quote this properly so I don't get it wrong. No fucking shit, ladies. Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza? Which I really, really liked. I really liked that bit. And I think that you realise actually there's something going on when it all starts exploding around him. Because I think the bad guys find him and they start opening fire at him. And obviously he comes through the radio and they almost deafen the people in the control room at the police station. But I love that bit. That bit really cracked me up, that bit.
Okay. There's another good bit where he's sort of hunched in an air shaft, and he's just having a grumble. And it's like a real man sort of thing, and he's like, "Yeah, come out to the West Coast." She said, "It'll be really fun." She said, like that. He's sort of just having a proper sort of grumble to himself. It's really good.
Well, I've got to say hello to my daughter. She's probably very interested because I walked out with a drink in my hand, so she's probably wondering what I'm going to say. Probably no worse than when I'm sober, to be honest, Emily. but welcome to Film Club, Emily. We're going to go on to some interesting bits now. Do you have any you want to start with, or do you want me to start with my
Now, go
list?
on, kick off your list.
Okay. Joe, I almost came as Bruce Willis, mainly because I own a vest, so it was going to be quite easy to, to do. But I came as Hans. It's not very noticeable. I even tried to shave like certain bits to
Oh
tidy
yeah,
it up
you've
a
got
bit,
the
but I still look stuffy.
yeah, the sort of Jeremy Beadle sort of low kind of beard. Yeah.
It didn't quite work anyway. But yeah, in the costume department, I had 17 vests basically in various states of degradation during the film. So it obviously starts off in a nice white vest, and then by the end, quite frankly, it's brown. But yeah, basically, as he went through the film, he went through various stages of being
Yeah.
dirtified. And you mentioned, yeah, it was 20 cent actually. To just clarify slightly, it was 20th Century Fox Studios. It belonged to was the production company,
Yeah.
and they had full access to the Nakatomi building. That's what it was, and that's where basically they could do almost what they wanted, because if the if the 20th Century Fox said no, they're like kicking themselves in the balls. So they pretty much had to say yes for everything, in terms of the stunt wise, and they probably went for it. I mean, there was no CGI then. When they're blowing up a floor, they're blowing up a floor.
Yeah.
I like the fact, and this is in a few films actually, where Ghostbusters we talked about, Bill Murray's ad-libbing, but it was said in this film a lot of the script was improvised as well, because they kept changing the script a lot. So there was a lot of ad-lib in this film, which I like to think, a lot of Bruce Willis's lines. Hopefully, those were ones he came up with himself. I don't know for sure, but I like to think that some of the best lines may have been ad-libbed. Bruce Willis said that his favourite role he's ever played is John McClane, which is quite cool. I can understand why he thinks that. Although he's done loads of other really, really cool stuff, to be honest. Mentioned that Mel Gibson was also considered the role for John McClane, and vice versa, which is kind of cool. Shows how closely related. They're only a year apart, these films.
Yeah.
The thing, actually, this is pointed out, this is on Internet Movie Database, but I thought was really interesting, is the unusual, if you think about Lethal Weapon, Lethal Weapon is a bit unusual, because actually you don't really, it's kind of a mix between the big bad guys, isn't it, really? Because the big bad guy is in the final fight scene in Lethal Weapon. It's kind of the biggest goon has a fight with Mel Gibson. But basically, Lethal Weapon does follow the normal formula where there's a big fight scene with the bad guy at the end. That doesn't happen in Die Hard, actually.
No,
you don't have that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, but doesn't take anything away from the film, actually. There is a definite kind of cat and mouse. It's more of a cat and mouse kind of thing, where the mouse eventually ends up on top, actually, because everything's stacked against John McClane, but he still manages to win the day in the end.
Yeah.
Interesting as well, Bruce Willis suffered permanent hearing loss during this film, lost 2/3 of his hearing, I think, in his left ear, because of the gunshot. So I think it's the bit when he's under the table. I think he was just too close, and permanently damaged his hearing. That was one. And then the last one I had, and I'm sure people got loads more facts on this, because I know there's loads of facts, and you've probably got some as well. But on the music score bit, so there's a bit at the end where Powell, Reginald, the guy Reginald Van Bell Johnson, who's got kind of an arc in the film where he feels really bad because he shot some kid and hasn't drawn his pistol. But there's a bit at the end of the film where he shoots someone. But the actual music used from that was actually from James Horner's score from Alien, a bit of unused score. And it was supposed to be originally for the scene in the escape ship with the alien Sulaco. So it's meant to be for that, but it wasn't used. And they used it for that bit of the film, which I thought was interesting as well.
Yeah.
But that was it for my facts. Did you have any interesting facts on Die Hard?
I've got a couple. Obviously, the name Hans Gruber. Gruber wrote Silent Night. He was so obviously not the Hans Gruber in the film, but the actual original. It was written by a composer called Hans Gruber. Was I guess why they used it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? I like that one. There's another one. Oh yeah, they found I can't remember who it was. Someone took over those offices, and it was someone really famous. And it may come to me in a minute. It might not, because I've obviously destroyed a lot of my brain power by drinking vodka and cream. But they basically did a sweep, and they found loads of shit like bullet shells on the floors. And it's like, my God, someone's kind of going to assassinate whoever it was. Let's say, for example, Donald Trump. And it was just unfound shells from the movie that had just been left there for sort of years. They'd kind of gone under carpets and under office furniture and everything, which I kind of quite liked. They initially took Bruce Willis's photo because he was seen as a comedy actor at that time. So obviously we think of him.
Yeah.
It's like hard to think of people at that time without knowing what you know, isn't it? So it's like we know him as a action film, and then later on, Sixth Sense, a brilliant movie and stuff. But at that time, he was just known for moonlighting, and his face wasn't on the original posters because they decided that people would think it was a comedy. So they took it was just a picture of the building sort of blowing up, and no picture of Bruce Willis on it. And then when it was a success, they sort of put his face like back into it. Kind of interesting, isn't it? Yippee-ki-yay is used in all the films. It's based on a book. I think you might have mentioned that anyway, called Nothing Lasts Forever. In the German version, all the German criminals are dubbed in English and given English names, so they sort of switched it around. So all the German-born terrorists were changed into English forms. So Hans Gruber became Jack Gruber, Carl became Charlie, Heinrich became Henry, and the background depicted them as radical Irish activists having gone freelance for profit rather than ideals. They completely changed it so that they wouldn't sort of look bad. What else? There's another one. Oh, the terrorists arrive in a truck. It's green with a white top, called Pacific Courier on the side. Pacific Courier apparently translates to mean bringer of peace, and it is also the name of a delivery company. So there we go.
Nice. Okay. So those are our two offerings. I think they're very very much on a par. I've come up with maybe a way to try and separate them. Unless you want to do a pitch for yours, unless you want to pitch it like it's debating club or something, I've maybe got a way of maybe eking out who might win this one.
Yeah, go on then. What's your? Let's hear it.
Okay. So what do you think? So let's compare hero to hero. So let's compare Riggs to McClane. Yeah. Who do you think? I guess we've got three choices here. We either got Riggs, McClane, or it's a dead heat and there's a draw. So what do you think on these two?
Yeah. Sam's already cast a vote. Well, it looks like 50% of the audience have already cast a vote. But it's Die Hard for me. There's a lot of commentary on there. You'll just have to look at it. It's a lot to do with your suit. That's good. Well, I mean, I would say, like for me, I think it's going to be Riggs for me because he goes through the biggest journey as a hero. He's sort of broken at the beginning. He's absolutely broken. He doesn't care about anything and sort of wants to get. I mean, he's saying in that scene, he's going, shoot me. So I think he has the biggest journey. The biggest journey. In the story, whereas Bruce, again, is pretty close because he's equally awesomely cool. But we kind of know that he's got that laconic sort of wit. We know he's going to get through somehow. We don't with Riggs, so I think for me he might win. But he'll get my vote.
I think they both go through a journey. I mean, I think John McClane, as well as saving all those hostages, also saved his marriage as well. So he's multitasking there. Yeah. I personally, I would have them as heroes. I'd have them as a draw. I don't think there's any clear winner between the two. Because I think they both have different things. Okay, let's move on from that, unless we don't have to come to a definite conclusion. What about the buddy cop relationship? Because both these have a buddy cop relationship.
Yeah.
In both of them. Which one do you reckon wins in the buddy cop?
You know what? When I was watching them, I thought, I finally got Meredith on this one. There's going to be no easy winning for him here. Not after the Poltergeist alien debacle, where I just had to agree that it's better. And I thought, yeah, it's clearly Lethal Weapon because Murtaugh and Riggs, and that they have a great close relationship. But the one between Bruce Willis, John McClane, and Al Powell is it's really subtle, and I really like it. It's kind of like quite deep, and yet they sort of meet at the end, don't they? They don't like this for most of the movie.
Yeah.
So just talking by radios. So I kind of quite dig that, and he's just supporting him. So I might have to go with that one for that. I might have to take
my own. Die Hard one.
I'm going to go for the Die Hard one based on the relationship. Wow. Yeah.
Well, you might have shot yourself in the foot because I was going to give ground on it, and I thought the buddy cop relationship with Lethal Weapon was the stronger buddy cop relationship. But okay, all right. Next one. What about in terms of which one do you think, as a pure action film, which one do you think has more action or better action?
I would go for Lethal Weapon on that. I think it's got more action in it, more violence, more martial arts.
Okay, I'm going to go dead heat in my mind. I can't pick between the two. I think they've got all the big stuff in it. They've got all the sort of shooting and guns and explosions and falls from buildings. It's got all the boxes ticked. Okay. Special effects. Can we? Is there any clear winner in terms of quality of special effects between the two films?
I don't know. That's quite hard, isn't it? I don't know. I can't choose. I think they're both really good. I'd say that was a tie, personally.
I agree with you. I think it's a dead heat on that. Now, this one, I think there's a clear winner in this category by a country mile.
Yeah.
Who has the best baddie? Lethal Weapon or Die Hard?
Damn, clever. Okay, fair enough. All right. Okay, fine. All right, I'd have to go Die Hard. You got me. He's the best baddie.
Yeah, I'd go.
You had a card up your sleeve there. You just had that look. Just like
sorry, well,
really
to be honest, the way I scored it was a dead draw because I've kind of got everything was a draw apart from I thought Lethal Weapon had the best buddy cop kind of relationship, and then the best baddie was Die Hard. So okay, so maybe we should stick to our original guns, and you're going to go for Lethal Weapon. I'll go for Die Hard. But what are people online saying? I got a feeling I know what they're going to say, but let's see.
Well, obviously all the people online are kind of your family, so.
But they haven't seen. I mean, Emily's not seen either, so Emily doesn't count. No. Sam's seen both, I think. Although probably saw Die Hard more recently than Lethal Weapon. I think I had to sneak these films in when I could, so we haven't both managed to sit down and watch them together. Yeah. But I know Donna was Donna. To be honest, I think if you cut Donna Morfitt in half, it would say Die Hard, like a stick of rock. I think.
Yeah. All the way through. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Sam has said Die Hard twice. Like Die Hard, definitely Die Hard. And I think.
That only counts as one vote, even though that's tight. Maybe that should cancel out a vote because she's kind of tried to slip in 2 votes there.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I mean, I will stick with Lethal Weapon. I mean, we could go. What about Christmassy? We could do one more. What about Christmassy themed action?
Which is more Christmassy themed?
Because I see more in Lethal Weapon. There's more Christmas themed one-liners. I.e., like the phrase "Merry Christmas, asshole" is repeated quite a few times throughout the film when people are killed. So that
I like what you do.
Christmassy.
This is a very barrister or very lawyer type thing. So you're basically saying that it doesn't really matter any of these things, that you can almost arguing the point actually that Lethal Weapon is much more of a Christmas film. This is a Christmas edition, so actually all those other things don't matter. And I know there's debate whether Die Hard's even a Christmas film, and if you ask anyone involved in that film, they'll probably give you a different opinion on whether it is. I think Bruce Willis said it wasn't. I think maybe the director said it was. That's proper. Is it Cogran, that defence lawyer? They got O.J. Simpson off. That's proper. That's straight. I do agree with you. I think Lethal Weapon has a lot more Christmas content. You know, even to the point where, you know, the drug deal scene where you introduce the rigs. That's under the kind of auspices of them really that those drug dealers are selling Christmas trees. So in every which way, they're trying to do it. Although neither film is in a place where it seems particularly Christmassy. They're both in quite warm places from memory.
Yeah, it's not your standard chocolate box Christmas sort of imagery.
Okay. Well, we don't. You know, we could leave it to the. I mean, we usually leave it to the public. I think probably if we're doing the democratic way we usually do, I think probably Die Hard's probably going to win based on the feedback we've had. But I appreciate your action hero spirit. You know, John McClane doesn't give up no matter what the odds, and neither did you, I guess. But to be honest, I think, you know, I think they're both up there. I think if I had to kind of rate them out of 5, I'd probably give them the same score, to be honest. I think for me it's a dead heat. So I'm almost tempted to jump the fence just because I know we're in the minority, just to stand shoulder to shoulder with you and say Lethal Weapon. and I kind of watched it again. So I watched Die Hard last Christmas, and that reminded me of how much I liked it. And I watched it again for this. The Lethal Weapon I had not seen for ages, and I was thinking, wow, I can't believe I've been so long without seeing it, because it was like, this is a really good film, and it's almost been eclipsed by Die Hard, because Die Hard is now seen as the Christmas action film. But I don't want everyone to forget about Lethal Weapon, because Lethal Weapon still a really good 80s action film. So please don't forget that. It had 3 sequels for a reason, because it's a really, really good film.
And they've done a series, haven't they? Which I did watch. It wasn't quite as good. The series was a bit, but it was all right. But I think there is I think someone said that there is another movie coming out that Mel Gibson's going to direct. So maybe there will be, you know, something happening there. But
there was a reboot of Lethal Weapon, wasn't there? There was a reboot with there was a reboot of Lethal Weapon. So maybe he's doing like the reboot of Lethal Weapon 2, maybe. Possibly.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it for today. We talked about doing an end of year review, or not end of. We've kind of done 2 years of this. We were going to do like a top trumps kind of like, let's see who would win if we put everyone in the in a bit like the Royal Rumble, if you remember WWF. You know, when they put all the wrestlers in the ring at the same time and see who'd win. I think we'll try and do that. Maybe if we can, maybe before New Year, because it's kind of a New Year kind of thing. Maybe not on New Year, but maybe the day before if that's possible. But I'd like to do that. Because I think originally we weren't going to do that, and then people really wanted a Christmas film, so we did a Christmas film instead. So we did Christmas films. So if you're still up for that, let's get that on. Anything from the people before we close for tonight?
I think Sam said Die Hard. Emily's sort of remained silent, which is probably wise. Sam said, they're not the snowman. Yeah, no, they're not the snowman. No, that's true.
But that's got that's got a sad ending. I mean, I'm not giving any spoilers. The snowman's pretty emotional.
That film is way more emotionally upsetting than either of the films we talked about tonight. It's just like the snowman dies, and at the end he just drops to his knees in the snow. It's horrendous. And then there's the snowman and the snow dog. The snow dog dies as well. Yeah, woo, brilliant. You know, that's awful.
Sorry, fans, more spoilers.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You need to be watching another channel if you don't want spoilers.
Sorry. Forget But I just show
so it's actually interesting. Go on.
No, go on. Say what you're going to say.
I was going to say, it's interesting with the snowman, actually. It's very much... Sam lived in the countryside in Sussex, basically. In a house very similar to that boy lives in. So actually that kind of Flight of the Snowman. You know, he leaves the house and goes and flies basically over Brighton.
Yeah.
You see the Brighton Pavilion, and that could easily be Sam's house. So every time we watch that, we're watching it going, thinking that, you know, that could have been Sam's house, and I think she thought that when she used to watch it in the 80s and 90s even.
Yeah. Great. Again, Roman Briggs was a great writer. You know, his stories were awesome. We should probably do we should really do a writers one at some point. We've been known to turn out the odd novel. You know.
Yeah, not for I haven't done one for a couple of years. I haven't got one out. I think it's 2 years since Lucas, but Valhalla should be out next year. I'm 100 pages in.
Yeah.
Just getting the time is difficult. With our rock and roll lifestyles, it's difficult. You know, all the drugs, alcohol, everything else that goes along with it. It's kind of hard to find the time for writing, really. So I need to dedicate more time to it, really, so I can fund my alcohol and drug habit.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've got to watch it. It'll take over. It will take over. You know, but look. Speaking of special effects, right? Watch this. How big do you think this Christmas tree is?
Oh, I think that Christmas tree is about 6 foot.
Watch this.
Oh,
look,
the star's gone.
The star's
gone. Oh, wow. Okay.
Really not that big at all now. I'm just saying.
No, okay, that's
pretty
clever. That's very clever.
I'm just saying, you know, I just say to all the people out there, you could have this, you know, we're for hire, we're not as much as you think, you know, you could have this magic in your homes. Well, Sam already has, to be fair. I'm sort of already, you know.
As we said before, there's no expense spared on props and special effects for this production.
Not at all. None whatsoever.
Well, I hope you have a great Christmas. I know my kids still love Christmas, but they're obviously a bit older. Yours are a bit younger, so they probably still got a lot of the magic of Christmas. I think, to be honest, I think our kids still do now, but they're obviously not quite as young. But I'm sure you're going to have an amazing Christmas, and I'm sure you're going to have a real problem trying to get them to go to sleep on Christmas Eve and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's going to be great.
Okay. Well, have a good one. It's really good. Like I said, we do this regardless whether people watch this or not. So, but thank you very much if you're watching this live or whether you're watching it recorded. But hope everyone has a really good Christmas, and we'll see you for the end of year special, which will probably be the day before New Year's Eve.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll round up all this. We've got loads to round up, actually. It's going to be great.
We got loads. I'm going to get stuck into these. I forgot to mention my Christmas thing was a whole tin of Quality Street. So I'm probably just gonna open this up and just stick my face in it as soon as you come off camera. Spit out the papers afterwards. All right.
Brilliant.
All right, cheers, buddy. Good talking to you.
And you have a good Christmas. Thanks, Sam said happy Christmas. Happy Christmas. Yeah, talk to you soon.
Okay, cheers all. Yippee-ki-yay.